Manga and anime are generally not funny. Generally speaking, the jokes that you'll find in manga and anime might make you snicker a little bit, breathe air through your nose, but none of them would actually make you laugh out loud. There are some exceptions, but generally speaking, they're just very rare. And the same thing goes for manhwa as well. Most manhwa, in fact, actually, majority of manhwa, probably 95% of manhwa is not funny. I really think the amount of manhwa that I consider probably funny, I can count on probably one hand. If I'm being generous, probably two hands. And this technically has to do with how Korea, Japan, and China view jokes or perceive jokes. I don't really understand the ins and outs of it, but what I understand is that their style of jokes is completely different from the Western audience. I think a lot of it has to do with play on words. And obviously, I'm not saying that there's nothing in common between Western comedy and their comedy. You'll definitely find some stuff that are in common and that make you laugh. But in the wide scheme of things, they're not funny. And you don't even have to take it from me. You can take it from literally the number one anime enthusiasts.
I just don't think anime can make me laugh.
I don't think anime clips are good. I work with anime too much.
Yeah.
Now that we've established how rare it is to find actual funny manhwas, at least for the Western audience, let me present to you Exhibition A. Now, honestly, you've probably heard of this one, but that will not stop me from making a video about it, because this shit is fucking hilarious. This manhwa is about Lloyd Frontera, or to be precise, Kim Soo-ho, who reincarnated into Lloyd Frontera's body, since it's a reincarnation story. The story starts off pretty normal. Kim Soo-ho gets reincarnated into the story that he read last night, feeling obviously confused about the whole thing. And since Lloyd Frontera used to be a piece of shit, the change of attitude kinda surprised everyone else and made them confused. And since he read the novel, he knows that the character that he reincarnated into is going to die. And also his whole family is going to die. So obviously he got the shittiest character that he possibly could get. Not to mention they have a huge debt they need to pay. So how does Lloyd Frontera tackle this? Obviously with the most honestly logical thing ever. It's something that you thought of, it's something that I thought of, it's something that everyone has thought of. And that's to capitalize on modern day knowledge. And this is even more logical by the fact that Kim Soo-ho used to be a engineer. Kim Soo-ho, or I'll just call him Lloyd Frontera from now on. The only thing that Lloyd Frontera cares about is money. So he'll go to extreme measures to get any extra amount of cash. What's crazy about this is the story is actually good and it's really funny at the same time. And as much as the jokes themselves are pretty funny, the faces that the artist drew is honestly top class. The amount of emotions a single panel like this draws out is honestly crazy. It conveys so much. This manhwa is technically very, very similar to Konosuba. Not in story-wise, but in comedy-wise. So if you like Konosuba, then you'll probably like this manhwa too. For this video, I had to go back and read chapter 1, since I've kind of forgot the story and I need to reread it, since it's been a long time. And it was honestly crazy to see how much the art has improved throughout the whole story. And what's crazy to me is that the story just got ridiculously better. Because right now, the story, without the comedy, could stand up on its own. And the story is as funny, if not even funnier, than day one. And if you couldn't tell, one of my favorite genres ever is comedy. So this actually kind of makes me proud of manhwa in general. So if you're looking for a new manhwa to read, or even a gateway into manhwa, then you should definitely give this one a try. The next one that I want to talk about is a manhwa. Technically speaking, this one is kind of like those comics that you'd see on magazines or newspaper. Whereas technically the one chapter doesn't really have to relate to the next one. So it's basically a collection of stories about two high school kids and their high school experiences. This one is interesting because sometimes some chapters do not have a lot of dialogue at all, and they still are very, very funny. The whole premise of this manhwa is the fact that it feels very, very natural. Like the things that are in the chapters could happen technically to anyone. I mean, you could have experienced it too. So you could say technically anyone can relate to at least one chapter. Most of the time the characters are reoccurring. And I technically did say that one chapter does not relate to another, but technically speaking, the characters do feel like they age and progress. So the world isn't really static. It's kind of like the type of thing you'd read when you're feeling down, or maybe when you have some time to kill and you want to kill it at least on quality time. Like instead of, I don't know, watching some trash ass Manhwa or really scrolling through fucking TikTok. You could sneak in a chapter maybe between classes or during a break at work, and overall it's very funny and nostalgic. And in my opinion, better than scrolling TikTok. And technically healthier. So if you ever feel down, just go ahead and read any of those two I just mentioned. You're welcome. But yeah, that's about